Well, here we are for another week of reading 3311. I have this week, I want to share with you part of something called Reader's Workshop. There's some files in the Files tab that I'm going to show just in just a few minutes, but the files come from, they're PowerPoint files. I created them to go along with chapter 9 of this book by Irene Fountas and Pinnell. So Fountas and Pinnell, it's called Guiding Readers and Writers, grades 3 through 6, teaching comprehension, genre, and content literacy. I do recommend this book once you get in a classroom of your own, but you're probably going to want your principal to buy it for you because the book's about this thick, and it has tons of great resources to help get students reading in your classroom and give you ideas for reading and writing. The chapter that I'm going to be talking about today is chapter 9, which is getting started, the first 20 days of independent reading. I used this in my classroom and did all 20 days of the Reader's Workshop to get my Reader's Workshop going in my classroom. This can be used in any grades 3 through 6 for sure. The very next page in that chapter has a chart on it and what you do in each day. This chart kind of breaks down the 20 days for you, talks about different ways to do it. Then as you get into the chapter, it has each day broken down in a lot more detail. What you would say, what you would do, how you would walk the students through guided reading. And so I want to encourage you to take a look at the PowerPoints as I go through them, but download these PowerPoints. You'll use these in your classroom if you get this book. Again, you want to get this book by Fountas and Pinnell. I got it in a workshop that my district put on, but I think the book is around $200 and something. So I don't recommend that you buy it yourself. I do recommend that you get one for your classroom as soon as you get there. So the first one I want to show you is day 2. So the first day, you kind of get the students acclimated. You talk to them about reading quietly, and it's more you talking, and there's not really a PowerPoint that goes along with it. So day 2 talks about how students choose books, or the way that most people choose books, actually. So let's get into the PowerPoint. So day 2 is how we choose books. So the very first one comes up and it has sound effects and everything else. So these are the different ways that we choose books. And you go over this, and as each one comes up, you talk about it with the students. The chapter does cover each one of these in detail. And then when you get to the end, you send your students out to go choose some books. And that's it. That's day 2. So day 3, this is the PowerPoint for day 3. Day 3 is making good book choices. A lot of times students struggle with how to choose a book because they choose either too easy or too difficult books. And so what you want to do with the students is kind of go over with them what an easy book looks like, what a just right book looks like, and what one that's too difficult looks like. So here's the ideas that go along with that. And again, in the book, the Fountas and Pinnell book, it covers each of these topics in more detail. And if you don't like the sound effects, you can take them out. And here's the easy, just right, and challenging books. Typically, the challenging ones are not a good choice. Sometimes the easy ones are okay, but if you don't challenge yourself in reading, you won't learn how to read more difficult books. And then the just right books, sometimes they require a little bit of help reading them, but they're not too difficult for them. Day 4 covers thinking and talking about your reading. And so we're basically in this day, we're teaching them how to talk about their reading to other people. And so the PowerPoint that goes along with it has to do with reading is thinking. And these are some concepts that are covered about that. So here's some things to think about while you're reading. So day 5 talks about how to buzz about your reading. And so how to buzz effectively. In other words, you're going to talk with other people. So this is the way this works is you get students into small groups, and one person, there's some rules about it, how they can get together and talk about their reading. So here's some of the rules. All members of the group can see each other. One person talks at a time. The listeners look at the speaker. Members listen to understand what the speaker is saying. When the speaker is finished talking, each member shares thoughts or questions. And then the next person takes their turn. And so that's the rules of how to buzz effectively. And we usually have groups of 4 students talking about the books that they're reading. This is one way to ensure that everybody has a chance to talk about the books that they're reading. So day 6 is called abandoning books, or how to abandon books. There is no PowerPoint that goes with this. I don't spend very much time talking with students about this on day 6. Basically, I didn't really want my students picking books that they were going to abandon, but because what that usually meant was they didn't pick books well the first time when they picked them. So I just want to encourage you to realize that there are times when students would abandon books, but you don't want kids giving up books all the time. What would a lot of times I've seen it happen in classrooms where the kids just like making trips back and forth to the library. Anyway, day 7 and day 8 have to do with distinguishing between fiction and nonfiction, and um, different kinds of fiction. And so there's the PowerPoint that I have that go along with this, and day 8 has to do with different kinds of nonfiction. The PowerPoint that I have that goes along with this covers all the different genres, and you have to cover it in 2 days because there's just so much to cover. So I'm going to quickly go through this. There is sound effects that go with each thing that pops in, but I'm just going to go ahead and quickly go through the genres. And so it starts, let me move my picture there. It starts with fiction. And each one of these, like I said, it has its own. Yeah, okay. Some of them have little pictures that go with them, and not sure exactly what happened there. Anyway, as I said, each one kind of has its own. Let me move myself out of the way there. Each one kind of has its own picture that goes with it, with little effects and type of thing. So that covers the fiction genre. Poetry. Again, when you download these yourselves, you can go through each one of them. And then the nonfiction. I'm just very quickly going through these. I do encourage you to go ahead and download them and take a look. And that's it for the PowerPoints that I have for you. There are some other PowerPoints that you can come up with, but most of the rest of the lessons in the Reader's Workshop have to do with managing the reading process, working together with others, We've got guidelines for reading workshop, strategies, and writing responses to your reading, all those types of different things. So, again, each one of these different, I do encourage you to get the book. Each one of the different days is very thorough in how it is covered in the chapter. And when we get back together again in the fall, if you'd like a copy of chapter 9 out of the book, I'll be happy to make you one. But there are some pretty cool, here's an example of another page where it kind of gives you what you can write up for, and a lot of really neat ideas. I got a lot of great ideas for my classroom library from this chapter. And again, I think it's something that would benefit you. That's what I've got for this week for the asynchronous part of the lesson for this week. Go ahead and do the chapters. Make sure that you're working on your word identification strategies presentation with your partner. Next week, we're going to cover chapter 10, which you already read and did the quiz on. We're going to be doing the informational texts. I would like you to try to get one between now and then, children's informational texts. I know I'd asked you to bring them to class the last time, but this should give you plenty of time to get an informational text together. That's a children's book. That's all I've got. I really hope you're staying healthy and staying safe, and just take care of each other. Again, if you need to get a hold of me, send me an email, or we can Zoom sometime if you really need to talk to me face to face. That's all I got for this week. Have a good one.